Any other problems we should know about before we go to lunch?
Gender.
Gender.
Yeah. Because I think in the employment market, there's 它是有不公平的现象的，就是对女性去求职的时候，即使你很优秀，很多公司就是要一个男的。
Right, right. So, and we could talk about that. We could talk about gender as an historical problem as well, which is the way in which power and wealth and responsibility are distributed not on the basis of talent or merit, but on the basis of other ideas about how society should be organized. So it's also a problem of ideology, right? Anything else?
National image?
National image.
Yeah. I think the national image in the China history is always changing. In the 19th centuries, before the Grand Revolution of France, they thought that China is an ideal world. But now this changed. After the establishment of the People's Republic of China, and the national image of the China is negative. So I think now we must change these situations. We must rebuild the national image of China. We need a positive national image.
If you want to have a positive national image, don't have the government tell you there's 7 things you shouldn't talk about. I'm serious, right? As long as the Chinese government behaves like that, there will not be a positive national image of China abroad. China will be rich, right? And it will be appreciated for being rich, and people will see it as something that is going to be economically important. But it will still be a dictatorship. And that's not a positive national image. So I think there's, but on the other hand, I think that maybe when, who knows the reverse psychology of a government edict, right, and what that does. I'm not convinced. I don't think you have to worry about building a national image. I think it takes care of itself, right? I don't think we have to worry about it at all. I think there's one thing that you didn't mention that I think is actually important, and that is regionalism. That Hebei, Henan, Huabei Pingyuan, or the North China Plain, is very different from Lingnan, right? From Guangdong, Guangxi. When I was when I first went to Jinhua, I got the Jinhua有一个浙江师范大学, so I knew a professor, met a professor there, and I had just come from Kaifeng, where I was from Henan, where I was at a conference, and he had said to me, he said, could you bear being in the north? 你受得了吗? 我说什么? I said, and we were eating dinner. We were eating at a restaurant. He said, could you eat the food in the north? I said, yeah, it's just 还是中国菜. I said, 他们吃的不是中国菜. He said he went to a conference once in the north, and he had to leave after a day or two. He couldn't stand the food. He couldn't eat the food. This may have been in the 1970s when the food was very, very poor, and they're eating woto and things like this. But he had a sense of the north being a foreign place, right? He had been brought up in Yongkang, right? And for him, the north was a foreign place. And I wonder if this isn't, and I remember Sichuan people telling me that, 我们四川人是中国最聪明的人，别的地方的人都是懒惰，有一点笨，可是我们四川人，我们and they would go on, they really did, right? So I think regionalism in China and regional development and different regional cultures is actually something to think about. Whether they should be made into one culture or whether in fact you can have regional differences and whether that could be a strength of China as well. Yuan, do you think of there are other big issues in Chinese history that we should add to our list for our examination? Or have they covered enough of the big ones to?
I think one, yes, indeed. I'm an intellectual historian. I'm working on Chinese intellectual history from 18th century to contemporary period. And I'm particularly paying attention to the development of education, and especially the development of liberal art education, and which is based on introducing different ideas and different philosophical artistic traditions from the world and into textbook, rather than using one kind of ideological based education. Actually, history is the subject that influenced the most. And then I think one important issue for instance, civil society is something that we're not supposed to talk about, but I think in order to cultivate good citizens, in order to educate everyone in a better way, that we need better ideas and values to guide us to write better textbooks and to talk about world and China in a more analytical, in a more impartial and more objective way.
Okay. Well, that's why we're historians. It's up to us to do that, right? How? Okay. I think let's go to lunch. Okay?